Hey everyone, it's Strange Michael. I hope you're doing well today. I had a lot of yelling and talking at work today, so my throat and my voice are not doing great. Anyway, today is the review for the final to next movie. Of course, this week is the release of Halloween Ends in about 2 days. About 2 days, Halloween Ends comes out. This particular review, currently being recorded 2 days before that, is for Halloween Kills, the 2021 film. It's a sequel to the 2018 movie, the first of the new reboot series, which I really, really like. And I think I like this more than Halloween Kills, by the way. This is kind of a conjoined review for the extended and the theatrical cut. The extended cut has some stupid things, and I know my boy Austin, aka Goosebumps Completionist, really, really likes that. I myself am I'm not into it. It's the added stuff, it doesn't do anything for me. However, the theatrical cut, which I also watched last night and reviewed that, here I am, I like it more. Yeah, the editing is a little bit quicker. There's about 12 minutes missing that are in the extended cut. It is what it is. I'm not really a crazy over that 12 minutes or obsessed over that 12 minutes. I don't even really remember what was there. That should tell you everything you need to know. Halloween Kills, after the success of 2018, in my opinion, got the blunt end of the stick, if you will. I feel like a lot of people really hate this movie, and I don't really get it. 2018 was very, very well received. A lot of people really seem to like that one. Yeah, it has its flaws, but you have some really good stuff there that I think really overcomes and really makes a good film. One of the best of the franchise, in my opinion, being a lifelong fan. I'm going to be clearing my throat a lot, like I said. Halloween Kills, even though it has a really stupid title, you can't tell me this film with the amazing poster here and the really iconic moments in here that I do want to talk about just briefly, since this is a spoiler-free review. You can't tell me this movie does not have some iconic Michael Myers imagery throughout it, and that it doesn't really make some of the best moments of the franchise. I love it. I think it's a really good flick. Again, I like 2018 more. This is kind of in the middle of my list of Halloween rankings, and when I do the official list after I see Halloween Ends this weekend and review that movie, as I said, I'll be doing all that. I've done the reviews for all of the films up to this point. When I do that, I will also be ranking the movies in a big list, as I said. And this one is probably going to be somewhere in the middle, I think. It's not going to be too close to the top, not too close to the bottom. It's nowhere as bad as people make it out to be. It's kind of, again, to me, just kind of an unfair way that people tear into it. I think it's a little bit stupid, frankly. A lot of the things people claim about this movie are unfair within the logic of the film, within the context of the movie. There are things that people, in my opinion, clearly don't pay attention. They don't remember fine details. They see a movie once, they assume they're right on what they're saying because they might have blinked and missed something. Because there's a lot happening in these newer reboot movies from Blumhouse. A lot more than people give it credit for. They're very well made, very well put together. David Gordon Green came back to direct this movie. And by the way, a lot of people probably forget this. We were supposed to get this film in 2020. And then the pandemic hit. It delayed till 2021. It's kind of cool because this is really not a super often thing since the 80s that we've had a film come out back-to-back. Like we've had 2021 being Halloween Kills. This year we get the supposed finale, I don't believe it, but supposedly the finale, Halloween Ends. Also, again, with a dumb title. That's kind of cool. We haven't done that since Halloween 2 and 3, years ago. Well, I guess technically we actually did for Halloween 4 and 5 in 88 and 89, but still, whether you want to celebrate those movies are up to you. I like H2O more than I like these 2018 and 2021 or 20-something odd movies. I like H2O more. I think for me, it fits better. I think it has a better finale to it. It was kind of what should have been a one and done and should have been the end of the franchise. But I've had a lot of things since then that I've really liked, like Halloween 2, the remake from Rob Zombie. I've had things like Resurrection, which I'm nostalgic over, not so much that it's a good movie or anything. I wish we had gotten the original Halloween 9, Retribution. I think it could have been cool. I started reading the script, never finished it, but the stuff that I did read in there I really dug. I thought it could be a cool flick, tying back to H2O. There's some cool stuff there. I recommend checking that out in case you guys haven't read it online. You can get it for free as a PDF file. Just check it out. I think it's good stuff. So again, Jamie Lee Curtis comes back with the young girl playing her granddaughter and Judy Greer playing her daughter. I think the girl playing the granddaughter's name like Ali Matichak or something. I don't know. She's really good. I really like her a lot. Beautiful young woman. Very good in the role as Allison. I like Allison a lot. Probably one of the best final girls we've had since the original Jamie Lee Curtis, even though I'm not crazy about Jamie Lee Curtis. Jamie Lee Curtis irks me, and a lot of you guys might wonder why. I think a lot of people who are older fans that are about my age or so, of course I'm about to turn 28, I'm not old, but for someone who's been a lifelong fan, I've seen Jamie Lee Curtis's bullshit a lot over the years of how she treats the fans, very much like how Sigourney Weaver treats the fans. Like, they brush you off until they need money. This time around, Jamie Lee Curtis has somehow become an executive producer, which her ways of advertising this movie, Halloween Kills, depending on, well, not even really depending on where you stand politically, she kept referencing something that could be very controversial. And I think at the end of the day, no matter where you stand, it's kind of insulting, kind of a lie, kind of some bullshit. She compared a lot of this movie with all of its references back to Halloween 4, which I'll get to that. She referenced Black Lives Matter and said that this movie would be very much about that and be not really in support or against BLM, but just kind of tied to that. And then the movie comes out being filmed before BLM was really a big thing, and it has nothing to do with any of that. It was supposed to be, I guess, in her warped, weird, drugged-out brain. It made sense to her that somehow you could connect this movie to that because of the angry mob thing and the misunderstandings within the movie. Again, spoiler-free, I'm not going to talk too much about all that, but I've never been a fan of Jamie Lee Curtis. The one thing I've really liked her in my childhood, aside from, the original Halloween, H2O, Halloween 2, was really Freaky Friday, the remake. I think it's a remake, but the one with Lindsay Lohan. I still think she's great in that flick. I haven't seen that movie in a long time, but I remember really digging her in that flick and thinking she was genuinely funny. She is a funny person. I'm just not a fan of her. I'm sorry, I'm not. And seeing her nonsense behind this movie, seeing the behind-the-scenes footage stuff that I watched for the first time on this Blu-ray, it just makes me dislike her more and more. She just comes across as the scummy Hollywood type that I can't stand. There's a lot of that nowadays. There's probably always been that. As Razor Fist says, Hollywood's always been red. And he ain't wrong. He's not wrong. Jamie Lee Curtis, I'm not here to trash her. I'm just saying the way this film was promoted, from her, from the trailers, everything else, people are going to argue they didn't get what they were told they were going to get if they were looking at interviews and all that kind of stuff because of her. Myself, I really like what I got. I was very concerned going into this, just kind of like how I am with Halloween Ends. Halloween Ends, she's doing the same shit. She's saying it's going to involve COVID. And I know it skips 4 years in the future, but do we really need to reference COVID in a Halloween film? If Michael Myers dies or is coughing in his mask throughout that movie, I'm gonna cringe, and then I'm gonna get on here and praise it about how much I love that and how stupid it was as an idea. For the love of God, David Gordon Green, you're too good of a filmmaker to put that in there. Not COVID, but the coughing Michael Myers thing. Not that that's been announced, I'm just saying, can we please, for the love of God, not do that? But Jamie Lee Curtis needs to stop. She's one of these people that she ruins things that she's really has not much of a key element of. One of my biggest tangents about this review here with Jamie Lee Curtis, for example, anybody who's been a fan for a long time of Halloween knows her entire fuss she has made for ages about Halloween 2 and about how Laurie Strode was locked up in the hospital recovering throughout this film. Instead of being this get up and go type, she got hurt a lot in Halloween 1, the 78 movie. I didn't expect Laurie to do a lot in the sequel. It's taking place on the same exact night, and just like with how this film, Halloween Kills, takes place the exact same night where Halloween 2018 left off. There's a lot that happens, man. A lot that happens. And there was a lot happening in Halloween 2 as well. Jamie Lee Curtis had the gall, and I think everybody was really hitting at this. Jamie Lee Curtis had the gall to complain on Halloween 2, all these years later, even back in the day when she made it, about how Laurie is in a bed in a hospital most of that movie until things get to the third act. I understand that you, with your ego as an actress, and after the first movie's massive success, I understand that you might think you were underutilized. But to me, with the kind of cannon fodder, more slasher direction Part 2 went back in the day in 1981, when the big slasher boom had hit because of your first movie being a massive success, you would think that she would have enough humility to admit, even though I think she's a decent actress, you think that she would understand that was the direction Rick Rosenthal wanted to go. John Carpenter went that way in the direction there. She didn't seem to have a problem at the time and really hit on it and beat it into their heads. John Carpenter was still fairly new to filmmaking at that time. Rick Rosenthal, who directed the film, as far as I know, was basically a nobody at that point. I'm not saying he didn't have talent. I really like Halloween 2. Clearly, it's a good flick. A lot of people are bringing a lot of love to that movie, sometimes even more than the original movie from '78 nowadays. So clearly, Rick Rosenthal had talent, right? And I think he knew what he was doing. I think to build atmosphere, not to have to follow Laurie whining and crying and whimpering like a beaten dog for an hour and a half in Halloween 2. Instead of doing all of that, he had a straight-up slasher film because of the current day boom at that time of those movies. I think that was the right choice. I don't care what Jamie Lee Curtis says. She's always struck me as the type, and behind-the-scenes stuff and interviews, and the interviews and stuff behind the scenes on this movie, she just has an ego. She's like most of Hollywood, and just most people nowadays anyway. Anyway, in this movie, what my point was, she bitched and moaned years ago about being put in a hospital bed for the entire movie. And here we are. Halloween 2, technically Halloween 3, and this new quadrilogy of Blumhouse movies, which there's a trilogy, and then you tack on the original movie that these are only continuing to count on to because they're discontinuing everything from part 2 onward. Technically, this film being Halloween 2 of Blumhouse stuff, or Halloween 3, whatever you want to call this movie, what is Laurie doing? She's sitting in a hospital bed the entire movie, pretty much. Yeah, she's kind of getting up and complaining and saying, hey, there's this going on, there's that going on, is Michael in the hospital? They kind of do some things like that. But really, at the end of the day, she's in the freaking hospital bed the entire movie. I don't care what anybody says. I know we do some stuff with her character here we didn't do in H2O, we didn't do in the original series. I understand. I get that. That's cool. I'm fine with that. But for the love of God, can we stop defending Jamie Lee Curtis on this stuff? I'm sorry. Good actress. Talented actress. Just a bit too much of a hypocrite and annoying to not get on my nerves. Anyway, pretty much everybody came back that survived Halloween 2018. One of the more prominent characters in Halloween 2018's first half of the movie was Allison's boyfriend. And he really kind of kicks the movie off here when he finds Hawkins, the police officer who was stabbed in the throat in the other movie. And he saves him. He gets him to the hospital. Hawkins is in recovery. He didn't die, and that's cool because I like that actor. I like how this young man, who was kind of a piece of trash in Halloween 2018, worked to help save this guy. And I forgot, too, when I watched 2018, that this young boyfriend guy is Lonnie's kid, which Lonnie is in the original movie from '78. And Halloween Kills does something fantastic, by the way. It brings in Lonnie as an older actor, and I really like that guy who plays him. I think that he's fantastic. I'm really sad to see what they did with him by the end of this movie. They bring him in, and the actor's fantastic. I love what he does. I love how this movie takes a character like him and does something new with him, does something interesting with some other characters in the film that I will talk about in a moment. One of the best things about Halloween Kills, following up to that original movie, I can't really tell you too much plot without spoiling the end of Halloween 2018, but it basically builds on that and also builds on Halloween 78 by showing flashbacks to the night that, at the end of '78's movie, Michael was caught. Now, they made mention of this in 2018, but they actually go back here and recreate Halloween 78. The look of it, the feel of it, the texture of the film, the look of Michael the night that he got arrested, the haircuts, the clothing, all of it. It looks so good. It's my favorite part of this film. It's fantastic. And the look of Michael there is like watching Nick Castle do new scenes. That's what it's like. It's like seeing footage that you've never seen before. With modern day camera work and stuff from David Gordon Green, but for the most part, the look, the sets, everything, it feels like Halloween in the 70s. As in like the original '78 movie Halloween in the 70s. It's amazing. I love it. It's my favorite part of the film, as I said. There's some great stuff in here. But again, that Lonnie character, I really like seeing him as an older man. He apparently had an encounter that night before Michael was caught. That's in the very beginning of the film, so it's not a big spoiler for you guys. Just in case you were concerned about that. I really love him. Probably my favorite character in the entire film. But this boyfriend, Allison's boyfriend kid, he kind of becomes a main character even more so than he was in the first film in 2018. 2018, he's kind of dropped off about halfway through because of an event that happens between him and Allison. And here he's kind of important sometimes. And I like him. I think he's good. I think he kind of, it's, again, a great example of taking a character that was very kind of one-dimensional in 2018 and building on that for this movie and doing something nice with that. And with Allison, too. Allison doesn't get a whole lot to do in this movie. She goes to the hospital, decides she's going to go out with this brother and his dad, Lonnie, after the big announcement is that Michael had gotten out, that he's killed all these people. They go on a big hunt with a lot of people in town, kind of like Halloween 4, and the mob thing there with the rednecks. They kind of just say, hey, this whole town of Haddonfield, the people who have guns, the people who want to get their hands dirty, they go out led by Tommy Doyle. Yes, Tommy Doyle, grown up, played by, oh God, what is his name? I can never get his name down. He's got such a generic name, dude. I love him to death. He was in The Dead Zone, he was in The Breakfast Club, Weird Science. Where is his name? Where are you? I'm gonna have to scroll through this forever. Anthony Michael Hall. God, I can never get his name right. Anthony Michael Hall is playing Tommy Doyle here. We couldn't get Paul Rudd back. I wish we could have gotten Paul Rudd back. But he kind of leads this chase to go find Michael in the neighborhoods, and everybody's going nuts because they're listening to this guy when he thinks he encounters Michael out in the parking lot of this bar they're all hanging out at. And this Tommy Doyle is weird, but a little less weird than the Paul Rudd one from Halloween: The Curse of Michael Myers. For its charm, I like the Paul Rudd Tommy Doyle more than I like this Tommy Doyle. However, I'm a big Anthony Michael Hall fan. Couldn't remember his name 2 seconds ago, but I love the guy and everything I've ever seen him in. And I think he does a solid performance, but I think it kind of makes Tommy into an idiot. Just a wee bit. Just a wee bit. Tommy Doyle is very abrasive in the sense of, like, he is going to do everything he possibly can to be in the starlight. And I feel like the film, the first time you see it, you don't really have a problem with it. But for me, every time I watch this movie, the 2 or 3 times I've seen it now, he just gets worse and worse. He becomes kind of like a prima donna character and just trying to make everybody do everything that he thinks they should do. That's part of the point and the themes of the movie, about misunderstanding and whatever, and an assumption, how it makes an ass out of you and me, as the old saying goes. I get it, but does it need to be in a Halloween movie? Well, that's debatable. One of the biggest things that sparks off this whole thing about hunting Michael down in the town is that there's a guy that was also in the asylum in Halloween 2018 that looks like Danny DeVito's Penguin from Batman Returns, running around the town, doing weird antics. He's just kind of scared, right? That's the biggest thing people are pissed off about in this movie. And in my opinion, the biggest harm to this film is subplots. The film is like 1 hour and 40 minutes long, and the subplot, specifically this one involving Penguin Man, is too much. It doesn't need to be in the film. It's kind of there to make a point and to misdirect people. This whole movie is a wonderful example of sequelitis, mainly with the middle film syndrome of a trilogy. Now, Matrix 2, whatever that one's called, Reloaded, I think? Yeah, because there's Matrix Reloaded Revelations, and then there's this new trash out here that I don't remember what it's called. But you know my point. This is a great example of the middle film syndrome of a trilogy, where you're trying to make connective tissue to the first movie and also the final film, and maybe build up things here we don't realize yet are going to be used in Halloween Ends. That's cool, that's fine. The film itself, I think we have a lot of great stuff, a lot of great kills, a lot of great gore, all of these things that really make it worth watching, and good character stuff with people like Lonnie, like Allison, like Jamie Lee Curtis when she's used. Judy Greer is less insufferable here than she was in Halloween 2018, but not by much, and she still does stupid shit in this movie that irks the hell out of me when I watch it. She's still walking around with a Christmas sweater. She's just too much. I just don't like her. I don't like Judy Greer that much. I think she thinks she's funnier than she actually is. She's just too much. I'm sorry. Again, my boy Completionist, he really, really likes this movie, or really likes her, Judy Greer. I'm sorry, man. I'm sorry. This film has a lot to make up for its problems. I really do think that. Even having the middle film syndrome of trilogy stuff, it still does fairly well at what it's trying to do. If it's trying to have slasher elements, it really works there. One of the other subplots I have an issue with, not for what you would think it would be, is there's a gay couple living in Michael Myers' childhood home where he killed his sister back in the day, Judith. It's not that I have a problem with. I love Michael McDonald, who played Stuart in Mad TV. I love Michael McDonald, one of my favorite ever comedians when it comes to sketch comedy type stuff. He's so funny, dude. If you haven't seen his stuff, go look up Mad TV and look up the best of him. He's amazing. He was amazing back in the day, and he's still good here. There's him and another guy I think I've seen somewhere. I don't really know. But they're a married couple of gay guys, and they're just funny. They call each other Big John and Little John. And there's so many jokes in this movie, almost to the level of absurdity, like Halloween 5 type shit, like with the clown music with the cops in that movie. It's almost to the level of absurdity of something like that. And it works so well for me. It's completely unnecessary for the movie to have this. It should have been just kind of direct, in my opinion, or have like an abandoned Myers home. But what we did instead was absolutely ingenious. Or genius, something like that. I really, really like this portion of the film, but I totally am at odds with myself because I think it's completely unnecessary. But having Big John, Little John here, they're hilarious. I absolutely love them as characters. I think they're really fun to watch. And kind of a cringy, they're not really self-aware, but Michael McDonald, his performance here, he's very clearly aware of what he's doing here. And I think it's hilarious. For example, there's one scene in here where each of them pick up a knife, and Little John's holding a big knife, and Big John's holding a very tiny potato knife. There's that kind of humor from David Gordon Green and Jason Blum, and who's the other guy? The guy from Pineapple Express. I had his name in the Halloween 2018 review. I cannot for the life of me remember his name. Oh well, you know who I'm talking about, that guy. They are all putting through some kind of humor here that works so well. So well. Better than it should, in my opinion, at least in my taste in film. What kind of truck is driving by the house? That road's not big enough for like an 18-wheeler to drive down. Are you serious? Anyway, sorry about that. It just pisses me off when that happens. There are subplots like the Penguin Man stuff that's too much, and then there's stuff like this that is unnecessary, but it's funny. But if you didn't have this stuff here, there would be almost nothing to this movie. It would just be a generic type of thing. And all of the gore and chaos that we get in this, specifically when Michael gets out of the fire somehow. I'm not going to tell you how in case you haven't seen it, but gets out of the fire of Halloween 2018's finale. That's great. And it's chaotic, and it's extremely gory. I would argue this movie is more bloody and more gory than Halloween 2018. If you're not about that, you better be ready, because it's very bloody, it's very over the top, and it's good, in my opinion. I really like most of it. It ain't perfect, don't get me wrong, but it's pretty fun to watch, and that's really all that counts to me, or really all that matters, in my opinion. Did I have a fun time watching this? Yeah, absolutely. I like 2018 more than this. I like H2O more than both of them. But I think that the things we got here are a matter of having a decent plan. I think it's clearly a planned trilogy, but I think it's a decent planned trilogy. Not a good plan, a decent plan. More than the sequel trilogy for Star Wars had. But in full execution, they realized in the final moments of working on this thing and putting it together and filming it and writing it and everything else, they realized there's not enough tissue here to really blossom out a movie. And then they put too much stuff in here that feels a little disconnected. But everything we get about Michael Myers, no matter what you think about all the subplot stuff and the Jamie Lee Curtis stuff and everything else, the Michael Myers stuff in this movie is fantastic. James Jude Courtney is even better here than he was in Halloween 2018, sometimes better, and the younger actor playing the younger Michael in the old flashback stuff from 1978, that's brilliant. That guy's great. Every bit of Michael you get in this movie will pump you up. It'll have you excited and stoked about it. There's just so much fun. And one of my favorite things about this that was in 2018, now that I go back and rewatch it, this robotic nature of Michael that was in the original movies, but the way it's done with James Jude Courtney's performance, especially in this movie, we get a little bit of a touch of Michael's psychology. And the way he stabs people, the way he has this fixation on staring out windows. That stuff is so good. I really love it. I think James Jude Courtney might have been the person with the idea for that. Not the filmmakers, not the script writers, anybody. I really think that he had the idea for these things. And I think it just proved how dedicated he is to this Michael and how good this version is of Michael. By the way, the fact that the mask, like on this poster here, is burnt up on one side, that looks great. I love it. I love it throughout the film, and it just adds something to this movie every time I watch it. One of the coolest looking Michaels ever. But that fight scene with the firefighters you guys saw in the trailer, that's great stuff in this movie. This movie is filled with a lot of cool stuff like that. The character stuff is okay, like I said. I'm not really here for characters. And I think the film is not either. I think it realizes, like, Jamie Lee Curtis and all them, we need to push them to the side a little bit, let them heal, do Halloween Ends, and then really go for broke, you know? And by the end of the film, by the way, they're using Allison. They're using Judy Greer's character, Karen. Not really Jamie Lee Curtis. So those things are all brought in at some point. But by the time we get there, I think a lot of people kind of have lost the interest in this movie. There's also a lot of love in this film for Season of the Witch, Halloween 3, which is great. I love that as well. That makes it super fun to watch and rewatch. I love all the references to that. The Halloween 4 references with the mob stuff. I like all that too, even though it's a little sloppy and a little dumb. Tommy Doyle kind of causes a lot of chaos that Michael didn't need to happen, but I guess he would be thankful that it happened. I don't know. There's this weird-ass line in here where Laurie says, all this chaos, Michael wanted it to happen. He planned for it. He relied on it. He knew it would happen. No, he's not psychic, man. He's just a guy. And that's another thing, too. And this is just kind of the final things I have to say about Michael, to really not delve too much in spoilers, but kind of do it. This film does what Halloween 2018 kind of hinted at. A lot of people were pissed when 2018 came out. I don't know if you guys remember this. Maybe in the future, if you guys watch this review, you probably won't remember this or care about it. But back when 2018 came out, the whole idea was taking Michael and making him a dude. Just a straight-up man, a human who can die. They blew his fingers off, for God's sake. He lost 2 fingers in that movie. These 2. Well, no, it was these 2. He lost these 2 fingers. His pinky and his, whatever, the ring finger on the left hand. And that was a great idea. It was something we had never seen done to Michael in any movie, ever. And when it happened in 2018, it shocked the hell out of me. Because it was a great reminder at that point, like, he can die. You can kill him in this franchise. Now, with a new reboot thing from Blumhouse, what a good idea. What a great idea. Halloween Kills jumps in and says, maybe he's too smart. But not only that, maybe, just maybe, he's possibly supernatural. Or has, like, you know, in real life, for example, how there are people out there who physically can't feel pain. Now, Michael, by the way, once again, when he fights people or gets hurt or something or shot, like he's been a bunch of times between Halloween 2018 and this movie, when he gets hurt, he grunts in this film, but for some reason he won't stay down. And Halloween Kills, I'm going to tell you, a lot of stuff happens to Michael in this film that is worse than Halloween 78. It's worse than Halloween 2018. He has a lot of things happen to him in this film that at his age, in his 60s, 70s, whatever his age is, he would be older than Laurie, I guess. With all the things that happen to him in this film, he should be dead. He should be dead. And it asks you to kind of stretch your belief a little bit, to really accept that more can happen to him than what we've already seen. And I'm cool with that. I kind of like the idea that it's still a little ominous and a little not direct on whether Michael is more of a supernatural force, even though everybody, including Laurie, is still talking about him like that. They've all become Donald Pleasance all of a sudden. Or is he just a straight-up guy that's just there's some kind of mental thing going on there, some kind of physical thing where he just won't stay down. He just has a certain drive to him that he won't stay down. I like and appreciate all of that. I think trying to please both sides of the fandom on their questions and ideas about that, about this version of Michael from 2018, technically from 78, and then this movie. And now there's a motorcycle. Thank you, dude. Thank you for revving your motorcycle outside of my window while I'm recording. It's like they know who I am and where I am, or when I'm doing something. Anyway, I really think that trying to please both sides of that coin, of people who think Michael should be supernatural, the people who think he should just be a guy, trying to ride this line and say, you know what, in Halloween Ends, there could be a really good, compelling idea to this on whether we actually kill him or not. Please, for the love of God, do not just decide to back away and do nothing, or change whatever ending you have at the end of that movie. Either kill him or don't. But in my opinion, it doesn't really matter. Because there's going to be more films anyway. They've already said that. They've already said that. John Carpenter lied to us about 2018 being the final one. Jamie Lee Curtis lied to us about being the final one. They just kind of threw more and more out there, and now they're saying like Halloween Ends is not for sure going to be the end. We already knew that. You've made so much money off of 2018 Kills and now Ends. Everybody's excited for this at the end of the week. I still have people at work talking about it. I'm super excited about it. I've been talking about it nonstop. It's not going to die out. So anyway, I want to move along a little bit. The look of the movie is sometimes better than it was in 2018. It's beautiful, it's fall, it's Halloween night for pretty much the entire film. And it looks great. The shots are great, the camera works great, all of it looks really, really good. I really like it, I really appreciate it. It's very well made for a Halloween movie. Moving along to the CGI and practical effects, there's a little bit of CGI blood in here. One particular scene where somebody gets, well, out of the many people who get stabbed in the neck in this movie, it's very clearly a practical effect that's kind of shoddily done, and then CGI to make it look better. And that's kind of weak. I'm sorry, it didn't really work for me. The practical effects look fantastic, most of the time, except for the shoddy stab in the neck thing I just talked about. Pretty much all the gore, all the dismemberment that we see in this movie, it looks really good. There is a fight choreography scene involving the firefighters thing I referenced that everybody knows about by now. That's a little poorly done, just a little bit. It's a little bit sloppy, but I don't really care. I got to see Michael Myers fight a bunch of firefighters who just tried to do good things and go put out a fire at a house of a hermit. And it was cool. I liked it. It's a little goofy, but I like it. You know, it worked for me, for my taste in movies. All of it worked for me. Again, I like 2018 more than I like this. I think that the flaws there are very limited. There's more integral, woven throughout the entire movie flaws in this movie that cause problems. There's like one in 2018 for me. I know a lot of people have other issues with that movie. Some people might like this more. I don't know. I've heard a lot of people say they hate this movie. I don't really get it. Have you seen Resurrection? Have you seen Halloween 5? Have you seen those things? You really think this is the worst? Have you seen 2007 from Rob Zombie's remake? You're telling me this movie's worse than that? Really? Really? I've heard that a lot from people that think Halloween 2007's better than this. You're crazy. You're crazy. I, for 100%, do not believe that. Being the 12th movie of this almost 13 movie franchise as of the end of the week. That's crazy. 12 of these movies, man. We have 11 Hellraiser movies as of last week. This week we have 12 fucking Halloween movies. And then 13 at the end of this week. It's crazy. Let's talk about the music. The music is very reminiscent of what 2018 had with a few modifications. I'm not entirely in love with it. There's a couple of songs, for example, there's a chase scene involving Allison and Michael in 2018. Everybody knows that song I'm talking about. It's fantastic. Everybody who saw the movie, who didn't even like that movie, talked about how great that song was. They modify it here, as well as the theme song, and they add like a guitar, like, type of thing in there, and it kind of sucks. A little bit. It kind of ruined those great songs that we loved from the previous movie in 2018. A lot of the things 2018 got perfect, like the tone of the movie, the look of the film, particularly the jokes that I could have done without in 2018, but I still think they're better than what you get here a lot of the time, even though this film is a little bit more direct than comedic. Halloween Kills kind of ruins some of that. A little bit. Just a little bit. I'm hoping personally, in my opinion, me being a big fan of The Matrix, mainly the original trilogy, not this new trash Resurrections or whatever the hell it was called, me being a fan of The Matrix, I'm hoping that since I saw all of them in one go, all three movies, the original, Reloaded, and Revolutions or whatever, seeing them all in one go, not having to wait a year between movies or whatever, I really got a good experience and I really, really loved what I got. I think that 3 helps out 2, 2 helps out 1 in some ways. I think they really do well as building a lore off of themselves. And I really like it. I think it's a full-fledged, perfect circle for those movies right there in those 3. I'm hoping that Halloween Ends comes out and will improve Halloween Kills and can kind of be a perfect wraparound for this trilogy of David Gordon Green movies. I think it's very good. I really do. I know I've trashed this film a little bit, made fun of like Jamie Lee Curtis. Those things really don't harm the enjoyment of this movie for me as much as you think it would. I have a really good time with it. I think there's some great stuff in here, some fun little things I think about, like, for example, the gay couple that live in Michael's house. Michael's in his 60s, or 70s, or something like that. What's the first thought that runs through his head when he goes to that place and sees, 2 gay men living there? I don't think he's going to be very politically correct. I just don't. And thinking of things like that while watching this movie, and the other times where something kind of like that would happen. I think it's hilarious. To me, it adds to this movie. To me, it makes me laugh more and enjoy this movie more because I'm laughing so much about stuff that's not on the screen that I'm like, why did they not think of this? Or why would they even bother including something like that? You know what I mean? Like, I have a good time making fun of this movie while I watch it, but also enjoying it for what it is. The gore and everything really make it fun. And I just think it's made with less passion than 2018 had, for sure. But the execution of it, the passion put into details and those kinds of things, I think it's very loved by the people who put it together. And maybe that doesn't mean anything to you. but for me, it means a lot. It seems like they really wanted to do something nice here. Not as special as 2018, but they wanted to do something nice to kind of carry us over through this trilogy. And again, I get why people don't like the movie. It definitely feels like a middle movie. It doesn't feel like a standalone. You can really do it by itself, which is why I'm concerned about Halloween Ends and what we're going to do there. But for a long, lengthy, rambly review, which I kind of want to dig more into this kind of review style, like Rambo Raff for Life, all those people. Me and Goosebumps Completionist, or Austin, whatever you want to call him, down in the comments, we talked about this today too, while I was at work during my breaks and stuff. And I think that reviews are more fun to do like this, but I kind of want to go into spoiler territory, so I'm going to kind of make a video at some point kind of talking about that a little bit. Anyway, so Halloween Kills, that is my long, lengthy review for this newer sequel. And Halloween Ends is coming out at the end of the week. Like I said, I'm excited for it. I hope it's good. I really, really am looking forward to it. Unlike a lot of people, I'm curious how much money Halloween Ends is actually going to make. Halloween Kills is a flawed film, for sure, but I really like it. I think it's a good, watchable movie. It's an easy watch, too, with some really stupid things. There's one in particular, a kill, that involves a car door. And I hate that kill. I think it's awful. I think it's not a Michael Myers type of kill. It sucks. But everything else I really, really like about it. I think there's some really good stuff in here. Even if the subplots are a little bit overtaking the narrative some of the time. But I'm really here for Michael. The psychology behind him, the performance behind him with James Jude Courtney, all that stuff really works for me, along with all the great kills and gore and all that. All of it works to me to make a fun, entertaining, watchable film. And I think Halloween Ends is probably going to make it a fun 9-hour movie to watch, or whatever that collection of all those would be. I think it could turn out to be a really good thing to sit down and watch these back to back to back. And I can't wait for Halloween Ends, like I said. If I had to rate this film on a 5-star basis, like I have the previous 11 movies before this one, I think I'm going to give this one a 4 out of 5. I know it's very weak to a lot of people. Yeah, it really doesn't have a plot aside from Laurie in the hospital and Michael's just wandering around killing people throughout the whole city. But it's not a whole lot different from the original movies. It's just a better executed version of those old movie storylines that we love. In my opinion, it's a weak movie like Halloween 5 plot-wise, but it's better executed. It has a better budget and everything else to it, in my opinion. But the advertisements for this are what killed it, in my opinion. And the chant, "Evil dies tonight," it's muttered by literally every person in this film but Michael Myers because he can't talk. And people are so against that. They think the "Evil dies tonight" chant is too much for this movie. I think it's embarrassing to say that's your biggest flaw with this movie. Yeah, it gets a little annoying, but it's not overused in my opinion. I think a lot of people really overstate how often that's used in this film. It's really not. Maybe once every half hour you might hear somebody say it. It's not really a big deal for an hour-and-a-half movie. But still, that's my opinion on it. Halloween Kills. What do you guys think about this? Are you excited for Halloween Ends? Did you love Halloween 2018? Did you hate it? Did you hate this one? I'd love to hear all that down below, too. I've heard a lot of different things about this movie. I remember when it came out and just being kind of crushed to be the one person aside from my mom when we went to see this together. We were the only people who liked this movie and who thought it was fun. That's really all it needed to be. The title is Halloween Kills. What were you looking for? Dead Poets Society? I don't get what people want out of movies. It's a great example of why I want to go more spoiler-focused in the future for future reviews, just because of people are so unfair to movies. And if I'm going to be unfair, I want to talk about every detail I can because I really want to mock them, or I really want to praise them for whatever they had. Anyway, Halloween Kills, what are your thoughts? Put them down below. Maybe you think I rated it too high. 4 out of 5 for me is a good watchable flick that I have a good time with, and I've seen it enough times now that it's not just like a first watch reaction type of thing. I've seen it enough now that I know what's going to happen. It's more about experiencing that over and over again, and I think the film does that fairly well. Sets look good and all that too. I like it. I like it more than most people, as you can tell, but it has some severe problems. Severe problems, and I'm sure will not be in Halloween Ends. But we'll get there at the end of the week. Anyway, Halloween Kills. What did you think about it? What did you think about all these movies? Is it your favorite? Your top 3, top 5? We have a lot of movies now. We can say top 5 in this franchise. Anyway, what do you think about all that? Put it down in the comments section down below, folks. I would love to hear what you have to say about this movie and all my little rants and anger throughout this review. Again, in the future, maybe I'll re-review all of these films and go super in-depth, like hour-long, hour-and-a-half long videos. I don't know. We'll see. Anyway, thank you for watching, guys. God bless you all. Happy Halloween. And let's get on to the next review, Halloween Ends, in a couple of days. I'm super stoked. God bless you guys. Goodbye.